I want to welcome everybody to the On the Map podcast. This show is to highlight high school athletes and also give these young athletes a platform to tell their stories as they pursue their dreams in life. No matter what the dream is, remember, this is only the beginning. I'm your host, Coach Paul, and that handsome young fellow over there is my co-host, Jay. Today's guest, as a sophomore, is one of the premier athletes in the city. As a punt returner this past season, he's ranked 43rd in the state of California, 7th in the Los Angeles City section, and in the California Interscholastic Federation, and he's 2nd in the Coliseum League as a sophomore. He finished the season with a total of 1,127 all-purpose yards, 16 TDs. We'd like to welcome Stephon Deuce Johnson Jr. to the On the Map podcast. What's up?
Thank you for having me.
Hey,
I'm happy to be
man,
here.
thank you for taking the time out to join us, man. Real quick, before
I
Jay
got y'all.
kicks this off, before we kick this off real quick, hey, bro, like, you really get jiggy like that? Like, I seen some of these, whoop, 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 whoop. Like, it looked like I was playing NCAA. I was like, what?
Nah, it's just something that's natural. I don't be thinking myself. I shock myself at it sometimes.
Okay.
I shock myself. I don't be knowing what I be doing till I see the film and I'm like, dang, I didn't know I did that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
that
one of
looks
those
effortless,
things.
but we got a question for that too. So, hey, Jay, go ahead and start us off, bro.
Thank you for your time, Deuce. You're definitely one
Yeah.
of the guests that me and Coach Paul were like, oh, we should get him on. So glad you're finally on, and let's just get it started. And I'm gonna ask with probably one of the more common questions you get, but I gotta know, I gotta get your thoughts on it. Being the son of not only a former standout, your dad, 5-star in high school, USC, NFL, and he's also your head coach as well, so that's a little
Yeah.
of a nuance as well. Not only is he a legend in his city and his neighborhood, he's your head coach as well. Do you feel like there's a lot of pressure that comes with that, playing for your dad?
Nah, not really. Growing up, I always thought it was pressure, but I was raised to basically take on that pressure.
That's right.
I always wanted to take on the pressure because if you back down the pressure, you'll never succeed in life. So I never looked at it as pressure. I just looked at it as a fuel for me to get my name out there for myself, and yeah, just basically get my name for myself. That's really it. That's what I used it
That's
for.
That's dope. Hey, but I'm not even gonna lie. Pressure makes diamonds, bro. So if there's a little bit, cause you shining, my guy, you are shining. Like no pun intended on Rihanna's song, but hey, man, like for you doing your thing as a sophomore, like you sophomores
Yeah.
stood out this year, man. Like a lot of you sophomores surprised me, and definitely, even if there's no
Yeah,
pressure, man, you doing your thing. Hey,
yeah.
so
Class 27, the best class.
I like that. Sheesh, I got you guys for 2 more years. I'm gonna enjoy this. Hey,
Man.
Deuce, Deuce, your team went 7-4 this past season, and you guys went on to win a league title. You guys made it to the open playoffs, but then ran into the juggernaut. Norbon. What did you take away from that game?
Preparation. At that time, we had a lot of injured players, and he wasn't really prepared. The players that there we was watching film on players that didn't play, so he didn't know what was going on. We didn't know if he was going to play, or we didn't know what was going on. So I say I took away from we need to prepare more, and no matter who's playing or not, just attack mode from a jump. Just attack
Okay,
mode, and not worry about names and all that. Not saying we wasn't worried. 'Cause I'm not worried. We wasn't worried.
okay,
I'm just saying.
okay.
I'm just saying in general. Just play ball. 'Cause at the end of the day, we all human. So at the end of the day, just do you.
Yeah. Hey, so when I asked this question, I'm not accounting for Compton because on the field you guys dominated that game, but unfortunately you had to forfeit, right? Hey, so
Yeah.
but I do want to talk about is the Banning and the Culver City losses. In both those games, it seems like you guys were never able to get going. In your opinion, would you what do you think happened? Like you said attack mode for Norbon. Would you say this was the similar situation?
For Bannon, it was a lot. We had nobody really cleared that game. We really had nobody.
Okay.
So Bannon, but that's not really an excuse I can say because
Right.
we had people that was important. We had some people ineligible, but for Culver City, hey, it was just one of them days. It was one of them games. It's like, hey, we tried. Let's go on to the next game. So those two games, I felt like we got a very young team. I can say that much. So
Okay.
we just learn it. We're just learning as we go.
Hey, hey, man, to hear that gives me hope for next year because we were a young team. We faced some of the same issues you did, and we ran the table in D2. Unfortunately, it didn't come up our way, but we try to get up there with the big dogs, like with y'all.
Ooh.
We try. We try.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Southgate versus Darcy. Yeah, Deuce, those are some great answers. I like when you say, it was just when you were referring to Culver City, it was just one of those games, and I totally, I know when I was playing, and maybe when Coach Paul was playing, sometimes you just play honestly, you just play a damn good team, and they're just better than you, and
yeah.
that might have been one of those games, but I kind of want to stick on the topic of playing great teams. I want you to tell me how much, playing a Culver City and a Banning helped you when you guys went into league play.
Yeah.
It helped us a lot. At playing them two teams, we just, we got better mentally and physically. We learned that we
Hmm.
got to be more aggressive, bigger, stronger, faster. And be smart when we be smart when we on the field. So it
Yeah.
helped us a lot, especially when the end games where we all tired, but at the end of the day, we gotta lock in. Make sure you make the right plays. So it helped us a lot towards the end. And, yeah.
Hey, before Jay jumps in with his question, like I kind of want to ask a different type of question. Being like, I know you're not new to the city. Like you grew up here. You're like your dad's from here, so I know you had like the preparation of what type of mentality to have going into playing varsity as a sophomore. But did the city section surprise you a little bit? Like, whoa, this is just a little different than maybe I would have expected.
Um, to be honest with you, not really.
Okay.
I always play with with the top dog. So it's like it was just another thing for me. Not saying to down anybody though,
Right.
but
Right. 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 Right.
they good. They good for sure. But me personally, it was just like another league to me.
Okay.
That's what it was for me.
That's cool. That's good. Hey man, thanks for bringing clarity because there's some kids that come in or they step on the scene and like there's a difference. Like they see the difference. So I just wanted to get your perspective. That's what's up.
Oh yeah, nah.
Deuce, I brought up preparing for league play. You guys were able to beat King Drew this year in your guys' league 20-14, and that game was a dogfight. What was it like
Yeah.
to play in such a great game and such a tight game, and ultimately a game that won you guys the league and got you guys a spot in the open division?
It was a great, fight with my brothers. It was a great, it was a tough game. It was a good game. I had fun. I had fun playing against, a couple of my friends got King Drew. And, it was a good game. I feel like, that game was like probably our best games, as a team. Cause we got the defense and then we got the offense. The offense stepped up towards the end of the day. They got to stop, and we was able to yeah, we was able to get the win. So I liked it for our team. I feel like that's what solidified it for us.
Okay. Hey, let's talk about some of those moments because you talked about like you guys one of the tough games solidified for you guys and brought you guys together. Like, what was going on in that game where it was like finally the turning point where you guys knew, like, all right, we actually could win this?
We from the jump we already knew we can win this. And the mistakes happen. A couple of things happen, but at the end of the day, we still have that mindset. We gonna beat them. And so when it got to the fourth quarter and we had scored, and then so we kept giving the ball back, kept getting the ball back, but our defense was stepping up, as they always do. They stepped up and they got us stopped. So it was a great experience because it was a back and forth. You didn't know what was going on. You didn't know if someone
Yeah,
was going to score. You didn't know what was going to happen. So it was one of the moments where you just hold your breath and hope something happened for your side.
nice. I got one more question in that if about that
I
game.
got. No, I
So,
got you.
being a sophomore, when you have that key, like, because you guys had the interception and then the fumble, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. As a
yeah.
sophomore leader, like, what goes through your head at a moment like that? Like, what do you tell yourself? Like, yo, I gotta rally the troops. Like, what's going through your head at that moment?
Just to get everybody together, have a clear head. I don't want nobody, overthinking it or thinking too much outside of. At the end of the game, it's a game. I don't,
Okay.
I just got them together and just say, just keep fighting, keep going. That's all you can really do. You could just hope and pray, just play the best defense, play the best offense you can do at the end of the day, and never overthink it.
Deuce, I kind of want to shift gears just a little bit, but not too far off. I
hmm
noticed you guys played Castlemont High all the way up in Oakland 2 years in a row, and you guys will play them next season. Can you
hmm
kind of tell me? I'm not really privy to what that game is, but I know there's a trophy for the team who wins it, I think. Can you tell me
Yeah,
more about
it's a
that Castlemont Dorsey matchups?
It all goes to like the head coach of Castlemont and the head coach. They've been knowing each other, so they figure out why not. They want to give a kid's experience to
Okay, okay.
go outside,
Hmm.
do all the other stuff instead of just playing the inner city. When we want to go
Yeah.
out, travel, have fun with our teammates, bond, that, and then so the trophy is just like to show our hard work, and just show our
Hmm.
how hard work throughout the season.
That's cool, man.
Now is the game, the Castlemont Dorsey game, called something? You know how like Garfield and Roosevelt is called the East LA Classic, or no, not really. It's just kind of two
Yeah.
head coaches doing each other a favor. Okay, cool. I just wanted a bit of a clarification because I kind of noticed that recently. So my next question for you is, along with your wide receiver play and your kick return and punt return ability, really sprung you on the map this year. What would you say led to your success as a returner this year?
What really led to my success was able to, find the open spots in basically like just find the open spots, and I learned that once I catch the ball, you just once you miss one guy, it opens up for you. So that's really what happened. I made one guy miss. Gladly I made somebody miss. I was praying. I
Yeah.
was praying. I was praying. I made a couple of people miss. And then yeah, it was just a great blocking from my teammates. And, finding a hole, for me to run through. And then yeah, that's really it.
Nice. Hey, so I'm gonna piggyback on that. Like, so I've never been the fastest person ever, so I never got to return the ball except like in flag, right? But
Yeah.
I've gone to school with some dogs, and a couple of my boys were returners. Hey, so is this true? Like, cause they tell me like once they see the ball in the air, they look up, they get a glance of where everybody's at, and once they look back up and the ball drops in their arms, everything slows down. Would you say that statement's true?
Yeah, 100% true. My first, my
Woo-hoo!
first,
Okay,
my
okay.
first time, my first time in the Benny game. I got scared. 'Cause I'm like, I never did this before. I ain't gonna lie, I got scared. But then I'm looking. I looked up. I caught the ball and I fumbled it on the film. I fumbled it because I was too busy looking at everybody at. And then I
Yeah,
fumbled it. I picked it back up, and I look up. They not even 20 yards with it. Well, 20 yards. So then
yeah,
I took, and then so I just felt like me running through the defense. It was like a little bit slow at some point. It's like everybody going
yeah.
slow motion. And I'm just like just weaving through everybody. So I say that's 100% true. I believe so.
Nice. Hey, that's a
I believe
special
so.
gift, man. Like I've seen some shit, boy. Like I give it
Yeah,
to you guys because
Yeah.
if you got somebody that can get down there and beat your gunner, you getting killed if you're not fair catching it. But man, like to watch it, like to watch watch some of your highlights, man. It looked like things were just in slow motion. Like you saw things before they even happened and just whoop, whoop, and pew gone.
Yeah, that can get better too. I'm
Yeah.
working on that too as we speak. But like it was just God gifted. I was just able to identify what's blocks to take, what's hold to take. At the end of the day, I just try to help my team out at the end of the day.
that's a great answer. Deuce, you had many teammates make All City, Makai McCluster, Mike McDonald, yourself, first team All Cities, to name a few. LaShawn Jackson, Tyler Oden made second team All City. It's safe to say that those three seniors on the list will be passing the torch to you guys. What would you say you learned the most from those leaders this year that you'll take into next year?
Hard work. I watched them. Even though I wasn't at Dorsey, I just got here. I've been knowing them guys. And just watching them, they worked hard. They worked to where they got now, and so I admired them for that and hard work and just keep going. not, it's not always a great season. It's not always, your best moment. But if you keep going, eventually something will happen for you. My bad. Something will happen for you. So
No,
that's what I
you're
really
good.
learned from them. Just being mature at the end of the day too. About during certain situations, not panicking, having a level head when it comes to certain situations like King Drew, for example.
Hmm.
When the wires come down, have a level head so don't make a mistake where you go home mad that dang, I should have did that, or dang, we could have did this or that. You never want to have second doubts when you on that field. you know
Yeah, that's a great answer. My next question kind of goes into, what your goals are for yourself and the team. But I kind of want to throw kind of a bit of a slight curveball to you. Where do you What do you expect Dorsey High School, the football program, what do you expect it to be by your senior year, by the end of your senior year? So let's say it's January 2027.
Hmm.
Where do you
Mhm.
think Dorsey High School will be as a football program?
Me personally, I dream big, so I'm thinking we gonna go back to that top dog, being a top dog and being feared,
Okay.
everybody in LA. That's what I
Okay,
think.
Nice.
yeah, that's a great answer. I mean, it's not really a secret that when your dad took over, Dorsey wasn't, in the place that it used to be in. It's
Yeah.
it's slowly it's slowly getting there. The talent's coming
Yeah.
back. Kids are staying at Dorsey. So kudos to your dad, and I know he'll do great things. So my next question is the question I already said I was gonna ask. What are some of your
Mhm.
team goals and personal goals for next season, Deuce?
My personal goals, next year will be a big year for me. It's a lot of things going on, but I'm gonna end up playing both sides. So next year
Okay.
I'll be focusing more on defense. I get an offense. Just being that two-way player. So coaches can know I can do both. You know,
Nice.
and for the team goal, get past that first round. It's been a couple times. It's been a couple playoffs where we ain't go past first round. So you know, it's little by little. Once we pass the first round, I'm trying to go to the state. At the end of the day, my goal is to go to state with this team. I feel like what our team was looking like right now, we're gonna be able to do it. So
Nice.
that's my goal for the team.
I like that. Now, personally, what accolades you going to get? I know we're not doing the eye thing, but we all have goals, we all have
Yeah.
aspirations. Like, what are you trying to accomplish for yourself?
um, Really, I'm a humble person, so I wasn't really thinking about this too much. But
Okay.
if anything push come to shove, just beat what I did this year. Have more yards all purpose. Receiving yards. Anything I can do to help my team out, that's all I got to do. So if I got to do more, more on defense and offense, my goal is just to help my team in general win the game.
So, I know we're approaching like spring ball and all that other good stuff because, yeah, so I'm ramping up, getting ready for it. So, what does your off season look like right now? You playing any other sports? You hitting any camps? Like, what's the deal?
It's it's good. It's a good question you asked that. 'Cause I just came from a track meet like not too long ago.
Okay, cool.
So
Okay.
ran a track and all season lifting weights. And that's really it. That's really it.
Hey,
Yeah.
for our viewers and our listeners, man, like this is some real stuff. Like these kids come out here and they take the
Yep.
time to have an interview. Like this young man is sitting in the car. Like
Yeah.
if you saw our interview with Arturo,
All right, there
I
we go.
sat in the
There we go.
car. I sat in the car. So
Yeah, yeah,
hey
yes,
man, don't
yes.
apologize because honestly, this is some real stuff and we appreciate it. Like you literally took the time to make this happen. So we thank you.
Mhm.
How'd you do at your track meet?
I did good. I haven't ran in a minute, so I did good. I ran the 200 and the 400 today in a 4x4.
Okay.
I'm tired. I'm tired. I can say that. They ran me today, but we did good as a team.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
And that's right. Deuce, sorry. Before
No,
Coach
no,
Paul
you're
asks
good.
his
How you good?
question, for you, what does it mean to play for Dorsey High School? Because we've asked this to a number of kids, but I think your situation in particular is is a lot more. Not I don't want to say complicated, but it means a lot more. With the ties that you and your dad have with the school. So, what does it mean for you to play for Dorsey High School?
It means a lot to me. Growing up, that's all I've been around was Dorsey. Growing up, with my dad coaching. always been at the practices, games, running around, the players passing me the ball to the, being in the
Okay.
stands, being a, cheerleader. So, it means a lot to me, I always wanted to play for, I remember like growing up and watching, I'm like, man, I can't wait till I get to high school. I want to play here, And so like, that's really, it means a lot to me. I was able to, transfer in and then play for Dorsey, of course my dad here, but without my dad, I would have been a Don either way.
Yeah, that's
There we
dope
go.
to hear.
Nice.
Hey, so you just like we weren't gonna ask this question just because like
Hmm.
sometimes you don't like you just leave the like, certain questions alone.
Hmm.
But I do want to know like what is that relationship like with your dad being your head coach? Like I know that's your dad, but like would you say your guys' relationship is just as good on the field as it is off?
Uh, I say we have an equal, relationship. We don't, our relationship is good, off and on.
Okay.
That's my dad at the end of the day. But we know when it comes to football and be on that field, it gotta be that student and teacher type of bond. And
That's
so
right.
other than that, that's my, I have a great relationship with my dad. He's actually here right now. But yeah, so I
Yeah.
say. Yeah, I say it's pretty good, but we know on the field, we gotta switch that mode off,
Yeah, yeah.
become players at the end of the day.
All right. So I'm gonna ask you from a young man's perspective. My son will be the JV starting quarterback for us next year, and he's playing for me.
Hmm.
Like I coached him in Pop Warner the first 2 years, and me and my son have a good off the field relationship, but on the field it's a little rough. So if you could
Hmm.
give me some advice on how to deal with my son, what advice would you give me as the coach coaching my own kid?
Good
That's a good
question.
question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just say, coach, like treat him like he's a player.
Okay.
Obviously, that's your son and everything, but at the end of the day, we gotta develop and grow. So if it comes down to it, you gotta teach them a few things. You gotta pull them out. It's no hard feelings. I think that's what I learned. That's what I learned this past year with my dad.
Okay.
Coaching. So, there's no hard feelings at the end of the day because he's here to get me better. So if there's something that I messed up or something that I did, I know you're not doing it for no apparent reason. There got to be a
Okay.
reason behind it. So I say, just watching him and make sure he develop as a player and also a man during certain situations. And so, yeah.
Hey, I appreciate that advice, man. I'm gonna take that going into the season because honestly, the next 4 years, for real, the next 4 years, I want him to be able to be coachable, to listen
Mhm.
because I know he looks for me, but I know that tough love sometimes comes
Mm,
off a little hard. So, hey,
Yeah.
I appreciate that. I'm gonna take a little different approach, and I'm gonna tell him, hey, you can thank Deuce, man. Like he opened my eyes,
Yeah.
man. I appreciate you.
Yeah, I say tough love is better, because
All right.
growing up, my dad was tough on me.
Yeah.
The little things didn't really matter. Because
Right.
he already knew bigger things would come on. So he was a little bit hard on me. But as we get older, we understand it, and it actually help us as when we go to college and NFL. They not gonna
That's right.
they're not gonna be sweet to us. They gonna
Yeah.
be on our butt. So
Yeah.
I feel
Yeah.
like hard love is the best love at the end of the day.
All right. Cool.
yeah, I
Hey, Jay,
agree.
go ahead and
Deuce.
steal this last question. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Actually,
Yeah.
I have two questions because Deuce brought up
Gotcha.
college. I know you're still a 20 class of 27, so it's still a bit early. But what's
Mm-hmm.
kind of your recruitment looking like in terms of schools so far? Because you still got a
I
long way to
got
go. So
yeah, I got a lot of it's a lot of things going on behind the scenes. A lot of
okay,
school. I talked to a lot of schools. It's looking good, but right now, they
Right.
just they just went on for next season. I got next. I think this week I'm going to just one college for a visit. Not really a
Okay.
visit, but
okay,
like
cool.
just to see the campus. So it's a lot of things outside. That's helping, but
Hey, and just like that.